So, let's talk about Australia. They're making a huge move that has the whole world watching. They're trying to protect their kids online. The plan? A complete ban on social media for anyone under 16. Now, it's definitely a bold first step, but the real question is it going to work? Or is this just a digital dead end? Let's dive in and break down the architecture of this whole decision.
Because that's what this all boils down to, right? Is putting up a giant wall, a blanket ban, the best way to deal with the very real dangers of cyberbullying, mental health struggles, and all the harmful content out there? Or is there a smarter way to build a safer digital world for our kids? We're going to look at the architecture of the problem and a potential solution.
All right, first up, let's look at the ban itself. You got to hand it to Australia. They are sounding a massive alarm bell here. They're basically saying the way things are now is just not acceptable. And the intention behind it is absolutely commendable. Protect young people. So here are the nuts and bolts. The law targets all the big players: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. It sets a hard age limit at 16. And look at this, it's got some serious teeth. We're talking fines up to 50 million Australian dollars for platforms that don't comply. The why here is something I think we can all get behind. It's about shielding kids from the very well-documented harms these platforms can cause. And this is the real turning point in the conversation. The motivation, absolutely on point. But the method, the sweeping ban, it might be fundamentally insufficient. Why? Because it essentially accepts the broken design of today's social media instead of demanding something better from the get-go. So why is this likely to fail? Well, the argument is that this ban is like trying to build a giant wall, but it's got these deep structural cracks in it. So let's break down the 4 key reasons this whole approach is probably going to crumble under pressure. We're going to walk through each one of these. We'll start with the shaky technology that's supposed to enforce it all. Then we'll get into the massive privacy dangers it creates, the kind of backward incentives it sets up for kids' safety, and finally, where all this online energy is actually going to end up going. Okay, first, the tech. The whole system hinges on AI that tries to guess a user's age. Now, look at this chart because this is fascinating. For adults, it's pretty good, about 92% accurate, but in that critical buffer zone, between 14 and 18, the accuracy just plummets. What does that mean? It means a ton of 16-year-olds are going to get blocked and a ton of 15-year-olds are going to slip right through. And that's not even mentioning that these systems have shown some serious racial biases in trials. It's just not reliable. Second flaw, a privacy nightmare. To prove their age, kids might need to upload super sensitive documents like their passport or birth certificate. This forces these big tech companies to create what experts call data honeypots, these huge, centralized databases packed with kids' private info. And let's be real, given Australia's recent history with massive data breaches at places like Medibank and Optus, creating another giant, juicy target for hackers just feels like a catastrophic risk waiting to happen. Now, this third point is a little counterintuitive, but it is so important. The ban actually creates what's called a perverse incentive. Kids are smart. They'll figure out how to get around this, maybe by just browsing without ever logging in. And this slide shows the problem perfectly. When they're logged in, they have parental controls, content filters, some level of management. The second they bypass the ban to browse anonymously, all of that is gone. No protections. They're pushed into a wilder, more dangerous version of the internet. And that leads us straight to the 4th big flaw, problem displacement. You can ban TikTok, but you can't ban a teenager's desire to connect with their friends and find their community. That desire doesn't just poof disappear. It just gets pushed into the shadows. We're talking unmonitored Discord servers, encrypted group chats, fringe platforms where there's absolutely zero oversight. The problem doesn't get solved. It just gets way harder to see and honestly a lot more dangerous. Okay, so if a ban isn't the answer, then what is? This brings us to a really fundamental shift in how we think about this. We need to stop being prohibitors and start being architects. The goal shouldn't be to wall kids off from the digital world, but to actually design better, safer digital communities for them from the ground up. And that brings us to this core concept, micro-social networks, or MSNs. Now, these are nothing like the giant global platforms we're used to. Think of them as small, specialized, purpose-driven communities where safety isn't some feature you add on later. It's literally baked into the architecture of the platform itself. Here's the best way to picture it. An MSN is basically the digital version of a community you already trust in the real world. Like a classroom, a soccer team, or the school robotics club. They have clear members, clear rules, and trusted adults who are in charge.
It's all about creating a safe, contained space built around a shared purpose.
And this table just lays out the difference so clearly. Look at the goal. Mainstream platforms are designed to maximize your screen time so they can sell ads. MSNs are designed to help you achieve something specific, to learn, to create, to collaborate. Membership on Instagram is open to literally anyone. On an MSN, it's a closed, vetted group on a human scale. And maybe most importantly, the governance isn't some mysterious algorithm. It's human-centric with actual moderation.
So the big question is, how do we actually build these safer spaces? Well, there's a blueprint for this. It's an architecture called Web4.community, and it's the underlying framework that makes these kinds of privacy-first, child-centric networks actually possible. This Web4.community model is really built on 3 foundational pillars. It starts with a completely new way of handling your identity online, it gives parents and teachers real, meaningful controls, and it totally rethinks the entire purpose of the algorithm.
Okay, so that first pillar, it solves that data honeypot nightmare we talked about. It uses some really advanced cryptography, things called zero-knowledge proofs, that let you prove a fact like, yes, I am over 16, without ever having to reveal the private data behind it, like your actual ID or your birth date. Your identity gets verified, not stored. For privacy, this is an absolute game changer.
Second, it gives parents smarter oversight so they can get access to important metadata, like how long their kid is online, or if certain keywords related to bullying get flagged. But, and this is so crucial, the child's actual private conversations stay protected. It strikes a balance between oversight and autonomy, and you can build rules right into the software, like locking access during homework hours. And finally, this third pillar just completely flips the script on the algorithm. Instead of that infinite scroll that's designed to keep your eyeballs glued to the screen for as long as possible, the algorithm's goal becomes maximizing utility. Its job is to connect a student with a tutor or a young musician with a collaborator. It rewards creation and finishing projects, not just passively consuming content. So, let's bring this all together. Australia is fighting the right fight here. The need for online safety is urgent, but a simple ban might be the wrong weapon for that fight. Instead of trying to build walls around a system we all know is broken, we have this incredible opportunity to be architects and build a better one from the ground up. And this quote just says it all perfectly. The answer isn't to run away from social media or to pretend we can eliminate it. The answer is to be intentional, to be deliberate designers, and to build superior digital spaces that are safe, private, and genuinely valuable for young people by design. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. This whole debate completely reframes the question. It pushes us past a simple yes or no on a ban, and it challenges all of us to ask a much bigger, much more powerful, and way more productive question. What kind of digital world do we actually want to build for the next generation?